question for Coach?
Coach, I asked some of the other players about playing 16 games last year. A lot of coaches will say that's the mark of a good program. It benefits future years to play that much football. With 16 games under your belt last year, what benefit have you seen come from that this season?
Well, you play. You obviously get a lot more practice in, and so therefore, you know, I mean, with attrition, with injuries, that type of thing, you get a lot more guys reps and guys play and that type of thing. So um, that's good. That's a good thing, and we came out of it, fairly healthy last year. So um, I just think that it's year three. I mean, it's obviously a different football team than it was a year ago. As far as we've got some different faces here and there, and I think we'll learn a lot. Well, I'll put it this way: we'll get a starting point this Saturday where we are and what we need to do to progress as a football team and move forward. And win or lose, you can't treat it any differently. We're gonna assess it, see where we are, and see what we need to do to get better. And it'll give us a look at some of those new faces and some of the old faces, and we'll find out a lot.
How excited are you, Coach, to start the season, finally play someone instead of playing, any squads?
Yeah, you get sick of this time of year. You get sick of practicing against each other, and like I said, I always look at the first game as it's really a chance to assess your team. I mean, it's not like you're in the NFL and you get preseason games and that type of thing. Here, it's in college football, it's game one. Is that's the first time you get to see them play against somebody other than your own group. So you learn a lot, and like I've always said, it's not where you start, it's where you finish, and it'll give you. We'll find out. We're going in to win the football game, and I can say that. I mean, you don't approach it any differently, but it's whether you're playing Pitt or whoever you're playing, Robert Morris, whoever, it gives you your first time where the guys, get a chance to perform with the lights, when it's for real. So it'll be, it gives you a good evaluation of where you are. It gives you a starting point.
When do you guys as a staff, as a team, really start game planning for Pitt, and specifically with
We started like at the end of last week. I mean, towards the end of last week, and I mean, up until then, it's guys, really, I guess competing to get the reps for the Pitt game. So it's we don't I don't put a lot of we don't. It's not like we do a practice game or practice day a week for Pitt. We wait till it's time when we kind of have we think it's every year is probably a little bit different, and we'll have plenty of work against what they do.
Well, how have they changed since you played them 2 years ago? I mean, obviously their personnel changes, yours have changed.
I don't know if they've changed. Schematically, they haven't changed as much defensively. I mean, because Pat, obviously Coach Narduzzi is a defensive guy, and offensively they've changed a lot in some areas. In some respects, and then they have a new coordinator this year. So, are we going to get? Are they going to do what they did on film? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to really say. We're going to have to be ready to make some adjustments and kind of see what they're going to feature, and um, you know, they have some. We have some new faces. They have some new faces. So it's uh, I guess everybody in college football to a certain respect, everyone's in the same boat week one because there's no, other than last year, there's no real film to go off of.
Coach, in terms of new faces, the secondary is going to be one of the spots where you have some full-time first starters, going into this year. Was that a spot where you thought you needed to mix and match at different positions to kind of find the best mix going into the season?
Yeah, and I think that'll go on for a while. As far as we'll probably play a lot of guys and see where we are. And I think the competition will be on for a while. I mean, it'll probably last the whole year. As far as I think we have a lot of talent back there, but once again, how are they going to react when it's for real? And You know, we don't. Well, I'm not going to approach that any different than we do any other position. I mean, you know, there are going to be guys that some guys are probably going to perform better than you think, and some guys maybe not quite as well. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but we'll find out.
Pitt has a guy that's an All-American Maxwell Award. Watch this guy. Quadri Henderson. He's a guy. He can run, he can catch. He's a kick returner. How do you plan for somebody like that?
Hope he pulls his hamstring this week. No. No, he's a really good football player. He's a good player. They use him well. He's a tough guy to tackle in space. We have a lot of respect for him, and they got a lot of talent around him. And I think they do a good job of putting him in, find a lot of ways to get him the football. I think he had the second most touches on their team a year ago. So obviously he's a guy we have a lot of respect for.
With new personnel and faces we've talked about, do you find yourself as a staff being challenged to sort of maybe look at things a little differently, scheme up some things a little differently in the way you have, in terms of the personnel you have this year?
Yeah, but like I said, I think after game one, we'll learn a lot more. And I mean, I think you saw as we went on last year, I thought we learned a lot. We started, we were able to make the adjustments necessary. As you get to know your team a little bit better and what we're going to be good at, what we're not, not as strong as, whatever it may be, and you got to be ready to make adjustments and do the things necessary. I always say that, this as coaches, it's not about, to a certain extent. I mean, you can't do it completely, but you got to do what's necessary to give this group of players an opportunity to have success, which may be different than it was last year, the year before, or next year. The strengths are going to be a little bit different, maybe the weaknesses a little bit different, and don't try to pound a square peg into a round hole. That doesn't work very well, but there's right now there's probably there's some unknowns, even from a coaching standpoint, from watching them every single day, and I think as we progress together, I think we'll learn more and more.
Well, you mentioned everyone's kind of in the same boat, no scrimmages or anything like the NFL. Is there one day that you would like to see maybe some scrimmages at this level at the college league?
I think it'd be great if they let you practice together some, and do I think that'll happen? No, I don't think that'll ever happen, but I think that'd be, beneficial to a lot of people. But, anytime that there's costs involved, one way or the other, that doesn't go over real well. So I don't know. I mean, I think there would be some benefits and for everybody involved. But I'm sure that coaches have been saying that for a long time, and it hasn't changed. So.
Christian Turner done camp to kind of get himself on the depth chart and position.
Christian I think Christian in time's going to be a really good player. He's talented. He can do a lot of different things to help you win, and I think he's a really cool customer. He's learned well. He's got all the tools. But let's face it. A year ago he was getting ready to line up against a high school team. Now it's a little bit different. So, but we have a lot of talent at the running back position. Obviously it starts with Tevin, but we have, you got Christian, you got Joe Alessi, you got Lennon Pearson, you have Devin McNutt. I mean, you have guys that I think complement each other real well, and it's just other than Tevin, most of those guys are untested. Joe got some cleanup duty last year, and Joe's played in games, so he's probably the guy the next guy who's been under the heat of the fire and kind of understands what it takes.
Looking at your depth chart, from what I've watched, some of the practices we had Carter Sharp, and with the starters, and now you have Zinni lined up first. Kind of something a little about what's going on at that position.
Well, I think the competition's, I think there's a number of guys that you'll probably see both of them. I think, I don't put a lot of stock in that depth chart you guys are looking at, other than, it's going to be fluid. I mean, now we got to find out about these guys, and that's just a bit of a starting point, but that could change before Saturday. The way we approach it, if you don't have a good week of practice, you're not going to be the first guy out there. So, I mean, it's like I said, that's just a starting point. I think both those guys are going to play football for us, and you might see a different combination than that. I know Cole Newsome could possibly always move over and play some guard, and so we have we have different rotations that we can use, and it just you don't really don't know how the game's going to go.
So you see yourself kind of rotating offensive linemen during the game, or
If need be. I mean, if somebody's struggling or whatever, I mean, we do it in practice all the time, so why not do it in the game? I mean, Coach Carm, he's going to do what's necessary. I mean, you like to have continuity, and you like to have 5 guys play the whole game. I don't know if that's always in your best interest either.
You preached that since the day you took over here. Had a lot of kids out, obviously, for football this year. Is this the most prepared, not just from a number standpoint, but from guys that can rotate in and actually contribute since you've been here?
I think we're getting closer in that regards. I think our talent, our depth of talent is better. I mean, guys that are capable of doing it, or guys ready to go out there when the lights come on. We'll see. I mean, let's face it. There's a little bit of a drop off all the time from a guy who's played in games and done it in real time, as opposed to a guy who has the talent to do it and is still trying to figure it out. So, but yeah, I think the potential depth of this football team is good, but it's so a number of it. In a number of positions, we're still, there's still some guys fighting to come and develop the trust necessary that we feel comfortable to put them in a game.
what are the ideal conditions for victory at Pitt? Do you want it to go the way it did in 2015? I know you guys lost, but it was still a close game, kind of a higher scoring game. Do you want kind of more of the same?
Do I want a high scoring game?
Yeah.
No. I'm a defensive guy. You never see that, but. I just watched that film the other day, and I maybe want to burn it. That's probably as bad a defensive performance as I've been around in a while. I mean, but I don't know how the game's going to go. At the end of the day, I want to execute in all 3 phases of the game. Play as well as we can, and if we do that, I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to win the football game. But there's a lot of things that have to happen. You got to execute. You got to communicate. You got to play technique and fundamentally sound in all the areas. And if you do those things, it gives yourself a chance to win. And I'm sure they're saying the same thing over there. It's there are certain things that equate to winning, and those are the things we stress every day. And if we execute at a high level, it gives yourself a chance.
You mentioned you wanted to burn that tape, but did watching it, kind of give you a sense of how far this team has come since you first took over?
Yeah, I mean, especially defensively. That was, like I said, we didn't. There were some things that was like, oh my gosh. I guess I did a pretty good job up until that day of blocking some of those things out of my head. But but also, you got to give Pitt credit in some areas. There were some. We had opportunities to make tackles and didn't, and whatever. I mean, it was just it wasn't the ideal performance, but you just don't know how this game's gonna go. They have some new faces. We have some new faces. I don't know. It'll be every game. You think a game's gonna go a certain way going in, and rarely does it go the way you think it's gonna go. So. I mean, who knows? We got to be ready to adapt and do what's necessary to give yourself a chance to win.
I know we talked about a couple years ago your relationship with Pat. Has anything changed since the last time you guys met? You guys talking more than you did, or?
No, we don't talk a lot. I mean, when we see each other, we talk. We've known each other for a long time, and I got a lot of respect for Pat and how he goes about his business. I think he's doing a really nice job at Pitt, and it's interesting because obviously his family, because of his father, have a you know, his father was a obviously was a huge, I guess, an icon in this program. So, you know, that's the added twist to the matchup.
You guys played each other in high school too?
Yeah, he was a year older than me. He was played over at Ursuline. I played at Mooney.
Lee Wright and Arnold Delavan have played a lot of football in your system. You know, is this a year where you're going to put even more on those guys, you know, to help the other guys out, get lined up, and those types of things?
Well, hopefully they're ready to be even more leaders. Provide even more leadership than they have in the past. But you can't put any more on them. I mean, they're going to play their position and hopefully execute and play at a high level. And I have a lot of confidence in those guys. I mean, and I think that just their presence, their experience, their demeanor will be a bit of a calming influence to the guys around them because the linebackers in our system, they do a lot to get us lined up, and I know our guys have a lot of confidence in those guys.
Is it more difficult to prepare for a national championship or a week 1 game against an FBS school like Pitt?
Well, probably a week 1 game because once again it's a new team. When you're going into a national championship game, last year we played 15 games together and we kind of knew we were a little bit on a roll. This is a new team, new year, new experience, going new guys going on the road, and so there's a lot more, I guess you call it uncertainty going in as far as what to expect from your guys, because a lot of them, or not a lot of them, but some of them have never, haven't played significant minutes, for the new guys. So that isn't the case when you're going into week 16.
Coach, real quick, speak a little bit about the special teams. Zach attempted the most field goals in school history last year. Mark Schuler, some preseason recognition. How nice is it to have 2 guys like that where you can really rely on the special teams area?
Well, it's nice having your 2 kickers back, and hopefully they have experience. I have confidence in both of them. I know that both of them should be even more confident than they were a year ago, and I think they've both gotten better. So I think that's a real positive.
Is Mike Thompson traveling with you guys to Hinesfield? Is he volunteering with you guys? Kind of, can you clarify his status?
Yeah, I don't know whether he lives in Pittsburgh, so I don't know whether he's traveling with us or what's going on. Yeah, he's volunteering, and he's not here all the time. He's here every now and then, and I think he's just trying to get his feet wet back in and observe, and it's very, he's kind of limited in what he's allowed to do. So he's just kind of, I think he's trying to decide whether he wants to get back into coaching full time, and so he's putting some time in and seeing where it's going to lead him.
By limited, you mean he just goes to practices, or is he going to be?
He's at some practices, and he's in some meetings. I mean, I don't tell him. He's a volunteer, so I don't tell him what he has to do or what he can be here. He also is still involved in his business, so.